Hello everyone, welcome back to Ansarkari. In today's newspaper discussion, we're taking up the important topics from the newspaper of 3rd November 2024. So the first article here says, verification patrolling begins in Dipsang, India. So we had seen ki recently with the visit of the leaders of India and China with the bilateral meet, we had discussed several points regarding the patrolling and the deployment of forces in the Indo-Sino border. Now, we majorly even in the Ladakh region, as we can mention, or one of these regions is a Dipsang here. Or then we also have Demchok. So in दोनों के लिए there was a recent agreements that were made between India and China, and 75% of the concerns है, they were sorted out. So these were regarding patrolling. Further key terms की अगर हम बात करते हैं तो here we discuss regarding the uh, disengagement, and further उसके बाद we have de-escalation with regard to the borders. तो इंडिया एंड चाइना वी कैन डिस्कस अगर लद्दाख के रीजन की बात करते हैं तो इन द पास्ट ईयर्स परहैप्स नियरली सिंस डेकेड ज्यादा डेवलपमेंट नहीं हुआ है इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के केस में इन केस ऑफ द बॉर्डर्स of Ladakh and the Indo-Sino border. But recently, since a few years, we have been working upon this aspect as well. We are also creating such terrain-specific weapons, artilleries, और जैसे जोरावर टैंक की हम बात करते हैं, short tanks for the high altitudes, so as to enhance our infrastructure. Further, the India and China dispute की बात करते हैं तो it is not just restricted to the defense or the sovereignty purpose. Rather, it is also related to the economic. कि कैसे जो चाइना की इकोनॉमी है it is not in that of a good state, but since it has a very good stronghold in case of the EVs एंड अदर स्पेसिफिक एरियाज, तो जो ग्लोबल सप्लाई चेन पे चाइना का कमांड है उसको ब्रेक करना इज क्रूशल फॉर ऑल द कंट्रीज, so that monopoly, so that China cannot benefit from that monopoly. इंडिया के स्टैंड की बात करते हैं तो इंडिया हैज बीन deterrent with regard to its stand on its sovereignty, security, and the territory. और चाइना की पॉलिसी की बात करें तो दैट इज द पॉलिसी ऑफ एक्सपेंशनिज्म, द वे इट हैज बीन trying to increase its land area with regard to the waters. जब हम साउथ चाइना सी की बात करते हैं etc. One important factor here is the support from the other countries. जैसे when we talk about Pakistan or the Border Roads Initiative BRO, or the Belt and Road Initiative, तो उसके regarding, so there cannot be much support that China can receive from Pakistan itself. And also when we talk about Russia's role, so even Russia somehow has been a kind of a helpful hand in terms of putting that thought into the mind of China as well with regard to the good relations with India. Next, India committed to Sendai framework for risk reduction. तो सेंडाई फ्रेमवर्क फॉर डिजास्टर रिस्क रिडक्शन, तो ये यूएन अग्रीमेंट है विच वाज अडॉप्टेड इन 2015, और ये एडवोकेट करता है द सब्सटैंशियल रिडक्शन ऑफ द डिजास्टर रिस्क एंड लॉसेस इन लाइव्स, लाइवलीहुड्स एंड हेल्थ, और जितने भी अदर एरियाज है उसमें भी. तो here there was a consensus that was reached on the disaster risk reduction with the participation of the delegates. तो मोर अबाउट इट, तो ये सक्सेसर है टू द ह्योगो फ्रेमवर्क. तो ह्योगो फ्रेमवर्क इट वाज फ्रॉम 2005 टू 2015, और यही डिजास्टर रिस्क रिडक्शन वाज इट्स मेन टारगेट. प्रायोरिटी एरियाज अगेन गवर्नेंस, इन्वेस्टिंग इन डिजास्टर रिस्क रिडक्शन, enhancing disaster preparedness. These were the key areas here. Next, Vidar farmers, Kisan manifesto seeds new thinking. So, when we discuss regarding the farmers, they again play a very important role in terms of employment, especially, and also as the share of GDP और जितने population है, it is engaged. Nearly 40% population is engaged with regard to the agriculture and allied sectors, be it even in the forms of industries. तो की सेक्टर है ये, की इम्पोर्टेंट सेक्टर है. तो यहाँ पे हम बात कर रहे हैं कि रिगार्डिंग द किसान मैनिफेस्टो, तो किसान मजदूर कमीशन एंड नेशन फॉर फार्मर्स, दे हैव प्रिपेयर्ड दिस मैनिफेस्टो. एंड इसमें मेजर जो पॉइंट्स है, दे आर रिगार्डिंग द एड्रेसिंग द कंसर्न्स अबाउट द मिसिंग फार्मर्स इश्यूज फ्रॉम द मेन स्ट्रीम पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज नेरेटिव्स. तो उसको डील करना इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. क्या क्या फैक्टर्स को इंक्लूड करना इज क्रूशियल है. तो अगेन अग्रेरियन डिस्ट्रेस जो होता है, तो उसके लिए सेटअप करना अग्रेरियन वेलफेयर कमीशन को, सप्लीमेंटिंग द एमएसपी ऑफ कैश क्रॉप्स विद 20% बोनस. और जो आउटस्टैंडिंग एग्रीकल्चरल लोन है, लोन वेव ऑफ्स की जो हम बात करते हैं, दैट आर मेजरली फॉर द प्रिवेंशन ऑफ द फार्मर सुसाइड्स. So that is a pointer. And finally, equitable and just distribution of water. These are some of the major demands that are put forth in the Kisan Manifesto. Key areas की बात करते हैं तो again, precision farming. Further, agroforestry में जो common practice standards होते हैं उनका inclusion हो सकता है. फिर animal husbandry के लिए also we have the MID, which is the mission for the integrated development of horticulture. So these are all the major areas that we have been working upon. And even fertilizers के केस में जो excessive fertilizer use होता है, it again degrades the quality of soil. And ये pollutive भी होता है environment के लिए, especially for the water bodies. तो इसको prevent करने के लिए भी we have this new initiative that was regarding the National Pest Surveillance System. तो कैसे हम AI का and technology का use करें. Further we discuss about the drone दीदीज. These are all the major areas, and even the PM Kusum, जिसका इंटीग्रेशन हो रहा है with regard to the solar energy. Next, glacial lakes rise as the glaciers retreat. तो glaciers again enormous bodies होती है of the dense ice on mountains. तो gravity के influence में ये move करती है under their own weight. And in the process ये जो land होती है इनके नीचे उसको erode कर देती है. तो the grinding action pulverizes the rock underneath, जिससे कि एक मिक्सचर क्रिएट होता है विच इज कॉल्ड मोरेन. तो ये एक मटेरियल है रेंजिंग द साइज फ्रॉम रूम साइज्ड boulders to extremely fine rock floor. तो ये डिपॉजिट हो जाते हैं ऑन दी साइड्स एंड द टर्मिनस ऑफ द ग्लेशियर. तो जो मेल्टिंग होती है आइस की, तो उसकी वजह से ग्लेशियर इट रिट्रीट्स. तो द कार्बनस होल लेफ्ट बिहाइंड फिल्स विद वाटर. The rocky material piled at the terminus of glacier often serves as a natural dam for creating a lake. This is the process that is explained here कि कैसे glacial lakes are created. So they check for natural flow of water from melting ice. So this can, तो hydrological buffers होते हैं glacial lakes. So they can cause occasional hardships to communities that live downstream of the lakes. So recently in Sikkim, we had seen this incident of the glacial lake outburst at the Lonak Lake. This is the consequence of global warming. Further, climate change, earthquakes, और जो landslides होती हैं, heavy rainfall, these are the causes apart from the global warming. And impact में यही environmental impact होता है, economic impact, and the loss of the life and property. So early warning systems, they can be created here. Engineering solutions or regulation हो सकता है और ज़्यादा, and um, the displacement of the individuals which are living downstream. और relevant case studies में लद्दाख में हुआ था in 2011. and there was again damage to local infrastructure, etc. Or Uttarakhand, it was more recent in the Chamoli disaster. So it involved the glacial lake outburst flood-like elements. The key takeaways from COP16. So is a bigger corpus going to be available for the conservation preservation of biological diversity? So with regard to the convention, there's the 16th edition of the Convention of Biological Diversity in Cali, Colombia. So it was to be concluded on November 1, and it's all representative. So again, this is a kind of a measure. This may globally the individuals are meeting or multilateral discussions के साथ we can create much better conventions and much better policies with regard to the climate change, how we can mitigate it. So this convention follows meetings in 2022 at the Montreal, Canada. और वहां पे the countries they agreed to protect 30% of land and water by 2030. तो इसको क्या बोलते हैं 30 by 30 agreement. So this was a time when less than 17% of land and 10% of marine areas were protected. Up to 2022 में the coming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. So again, it is action oriented and will work upon the global targets. The mechanism set up करना is crucial here for the benefit sharing from the use of the digital sequence information on genetic sources or traditional knowledge को भी use करना and integrating biodiversity into policies. Major the challenge that is regarding the fund. So where we discussed regarding the $100 billion contribution that was supposed to be done by the developed countries. So NDC or the nationally determined contributions. The decisions taken at COP16, तो subsidiary body के ऊपर decision हुआ है that subsidiary body will be set up, which will include the indigenous groups and peoples. So that can be helpful in the formation of better ways to mitigate the impact. Or also there were plans to create a multilateral mechanism, but again there was no for agreement was forthcoming on which countries or corporations ought to be contributing.
And CBD, which is Convention on Biological Diversity, is legally binding. There are two more important protocols and initiatives taken under it. So one is the Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety. 2000 May this was agreed to. And this is regarding the safe handling and transport of the living modified organisms, जिनको हम LMOs बोलते हैं. And second is the Nagoya Protocol on Access and Benefit Sharing, 2010. So it aims to ensure equitable sharing of the benefits arising from genetic resources, fostering cooperation between countries and the local communities. And CBD, we know it was adopted in 1992 Earth Summit, also which happened at Rio de Janeiro. इसको रियो अर्थ समिट भी हम बोलते हैं. So because CBD is legally binding, so Cartagena Protocol and Nagoya Protocol, they also become binding.
And also here it is mentioned regarding the NBSCP, National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan. We recently discussed about it. And India के step की बात करते हैं तो one step has also been in the area of the Ramsar sites. तो उनका number increase करना, तो they are wetlands of ecological importance. So we are there regarding the Ramsar Convention 1972. Next is regarding heat waves. तो heat wave की condition क्या होती है? Again, definition, prolonged period of unusually and excessively hot weather. Define कैसे होता है? So there are several ways of defining. One is regarding the time period. Okay, the days, जितने days के लिए it is consecutively of high temperatures. And second is also regarding the temperature with regard to the area. जैसे कि hilly areas के लिए it is 30 degree. That is the threshold. and for the plains, it is 40 degrees Celsius. So, why are the Indian cities, towns, and villages vulnerable both in the hills and plain? And state-specific disaster को इसे as a state-specific disaster notify करना, will it help? And focused management plan, क्या हो सकता है? Why is it important? तो here Tamil Nadu का जो step है, that is just regarding the monetary assistance or the solatium for the families of those who die in the heat related causes. But will it actually help? क्योंकि ये preventive measure नहीं है. तो it is one step towards it. तो inclusion की हम बात कर सकते हैं. Since cold wave is included in the national disasters, similarly heat waves का inclusion भी it becomes very necessary. ताकि better provisions हो सके and it can be taken more seriously than now. और the trends की बात करते हैं तो 2003 में like more than 3,000 deaths they took place. These were on papers. Or if now, since 2016, the frequency has been increasing with the gaps of just 1 or 2 years. जिसमें कितनी ज़्यादा deaths they are taking place. तो impact की बात करते हैं तो health को impact करती है heat exhaustion, heat stroke होता है and जो vulnerable population है, for example the workers, the infrastructural workers or the blue hats that we mentioned. तो उनको दे आर मोर प्रोन टू सच हीट स्ट्रोक्स. सीनियर सिटीजन हो गए या फिर इवन द पुअर पीपल हु डू नॉट हैव प्रॉपर शेल्टर एक्सेस टू कूलर्स एटसेट्रा. तो दीज आर सम ऑफ द चैलेंजेस. फिर एक की टर्म यहाँ पे मेंशन है विच इज बल्ब टेम्परेचर. तो बल्ब टेम्परेचर इज द लोएस्ट टेम्परेचर टू विच a surface can be cooled by water evaporating from it. उसके beyond human body cannot cool itself. तो sweating is one of the mechanisms here. जिससे evaporation से we feel the cold. So exceeding a wet bulb temperature of 35 degrees Celsius for extended periods, it would induce hyperthermia. So we can remember this term in humans. As dissipation of heat, it becomes impossible. So one of the important aspect here is also regarding the urban heat island effect. Case में the creation of such concrete, so that is also impacting a lot of this situation. So there we can discuss about the creation of such infrastructure which is more sustainable and eco-friendly. तो लॉन्ग टर्म में अगेन हीट कैंप्स दे कैन बी क्रिएटेड. सेटिंग ऑफ कूलर्स, फिर जगह जगह पे वाटर कूलर्स दे कैन बी प्लेस, स्पेशली जहाँ पे ज्यादा लोग इकट्ठा होते हैं. दिस कैन बी सम ऑफ द मेजर्स. और कम्युनिटी लेवल पे ज्यादा फोकस हो सकता है इस चीज पे सो दैट इट कैन बी मोर एफिशिएंट.
Apart from this, we talk about heat action plan at the state level and at the district level. So, for example, we saw that Ahmedabad was the first city in South Asia to develop such an action plan to deal with heat waves. Then having early warning systems and public alerts. So role of IMD is important. Like today also we get SMS if there is uh, some alerts related to heavy rainfall. So it can be there for heat waves also. So here we are talking about more modernization, more advancements in even the early warning systems by IMD, like when we're talking about the automatic systems or using the Doppler radars, or when it is hyper localized alert systems are being worked upon. The role of artificial intelligence becomes important here. Thirdly, public awareness campaigns are important in order to make them aware about what are the important steps. For example, staying hydrated, avoiding direct sunlight, or going out during the peak hours of the sunlight, and recognizing also their heat stroke symptoms, particularly for the vulnerable population, which includes children, elderly, outdoor workers, and residents of the slum areas. Then cooling measures in urban planning. This is very important. For example, we can promote construction of cool roofs, creating more shaded public places, and the materials that we are using again that need to be designed in such a manner to absorb less heat and reduce the indoor temperatures also. So expanding green spaces, planting trees, and heat reflective spaces and surfaces in the urban infrastructure can help us in longer term. And then medical preparedness and response systems. when we're talking about the healthcare infrastructure in the system. So hospitals, clinics, they should be equipped to manage the heat related illnesses when again there is sudden increase, or when there is the time period is we are seeing actually a heat wave. And then policy integration, long-term measures are important. So here the role of even National Disaster Management Authority is important in terms of like they should be integrated, they should work in cooperative manner with the states when it comes to formulating the policies for heat resilience and climate adaptation. So multifaceted approach is the way forward. Even from the perspective of water and energy management is important because heat waves can impact the power infrastructure also, and even the availability of water. So that is also important aspect.
Hmm. Further, the tourists to the frontiers. So advancing infrastructure and opening up Ladakh's border regions to tourism. So in a bid to blend strategic development with local growth in the remote areas. So this is similar to the border villages program. कि कैसे more setting up of the people and the infrastructure there, it can boost security as well. And again, और ज़्यादा promotion हो सकता है of the areas as tourism. तो यहाँ पे it is regarding the Ladakh's border regions. That will also promote the local growth. So this is the shift from the earlier policy of keeping forward areas off limits. So this will also help in providing livelihood to the locals. और जो country का claim है to these areas in the political talks of boundary resolution, उसमें भी it will help. So we can remember this step here. Advancing infrastructure. Further, beware of digital arrest. So how does this happen? So scammers, they use phone calls to trick you, claiming that illegal items have been found in the parcel in your name or that you're involved in other unlawful activities. तो यहाँ पर the main challenge is regarding the awareness, because generally what happens is कि the individual they panic so much कि they are not able to think. तो ये बहुत ही important है कि यहाँ पे ये भी लिखा हुआ है stop, think and then take action. तो एकदम से कोई भी एक्शन नहीं लेना, we have to think upon it. And Indian Cyber Crime Coordination Center, Cyber Dost, तो these are all the initiatives है. और कंप्लेन करने के लिए cybercrime.government.in. तो this is after we are aware of the digital arrest that was about to happen. तो अवेयरनेस के लिए हम क्या क्या कर सकते हैं? We can post more ads maybe, and और ऐसे examples post कर सकते हैं with regard to the famous sessions that take place online as well. So these can be some of the measures. So remember, those making video calls are not police, CBI, custom officials, or judges. Next, stuck in limbo. So for patients diagnosed with rare diseases and whose treatment has been interrupted. So the Delhi High Court, they gave them a hope. This is regarding the rare diseases. So they are defined by WHO as debilitating lifelong conditions that affects one or fewer people in 1000. So National Rare Diseases Committee. So they have a role here with regard to the financial contribution, medicines, etc. treatment के लिए. So the Delhi High Court has directed that the center establish a national fund for the rare diseases and allocate 974 crore for 2024-25 and 25-26.
So there's a national policy for rare diseases 2021, and this was obviously to support the treatment and management of the rare diseases. So here we firstly, which all diseases would be falling under this category. This is one step under this, and financial assistance of up to rupees 20 lakhs by the central government is provided. This is for one-time treatment. Now, there are several questions on this amount, that whether this is sufficient or not to treat, and that to one-time treatment. So also the support is primarily, it is directed toward the beneficiaries under the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana scheme. So it is linked. And second, we have established the centers of excellence. For example, AIMS Delhi is there, Sanjay Gandhi Postgraduate Institute of Medical Sciences, Lucknow, Maulana Azad Medical College, Delhi. So these are particularly to improve the research, diagnosis, and treatment of the rare diseases. And financial assistance and crowdfunding is another mechanism to support the patients with high cost treatments. So here the role of NGOs and charities, individuals is important, or the philanthropists. Then we have national registry and awareness programs regarding the same to collect the data and understand the prevalence and how the number is also increasing. So whether these diseases are going to stay rare in future is the question. So capacity building initiatives became important by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So training of the healthcare professionals will be important. And then orphan drugs. The drugs which are used to treat these rare diseases are known as the orphan drugs. So we need to focus upon reducing the cost of the treatment, improving the drug availability. So generic industry, generic medicine industry will be important, and expanding more of research and development here. So overall, so when we are talking about the percentage of GDP for healthcare, so that should be increased to 5%.
Hmm. And here, a method is also mentioned here. What are the steps to avail the treatment? To negotiate prices for bulk purchases. So NRDC has this mandate. The Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Centers of Excellence. The protocol है patients they approach the centers of excellence. They review and examine the patients and recommend the treatment. तो approvals होते हैं फिर then which are sent to the COE concerned. And COE to place purchase orders on companies as per agreed prices. तो इसमें अगेन डायरेक्ट कंपनीज का भी इसमें इन्वॉल्वमेंट है तो बेटर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इन टर्म्स ऑफ द फार्मास्यूटिकल्स और डायरेक्ट है ये बिटवीन द सेंटर्स ऑफ एक्सीलेंस एंड द कंपनीज तो नो मीडिएटरीज आर हियर नेशनल फंड फॉर रेयर डिजीजेस नेक्स्ट Odisha SC High Court upholds merger of schools with low enrollments. So they have upheld the rationalization and consolidation of school policy. जिसके अंदर जो schools are with low enrollment, they were merged with the nearby ones to improve the pupil-teacher ratio and the better utilization of resources. Hmm. तो RT violation, right to education. So the rationalization policy it cannot be held to be illegal merely on the ground के कोई prescription नहीं है इसका. So student-teacher ratio, a vibrant parent community as enrollment increases, e-learning, co-curricular facilities, holistic learning, academic environment provide करना. These are all the steps here. Next, Pathfinder to arm Kiranas with AI to face online giants. So, with e-commerce firms growing fast by acquiring customers to their technological edge. So, brick and mortar stores and Kiranas are undergoing a significant shift. तो advancements जो हैं in the AI and digital tools वो इनको empower करिए to compete effectively with the former or the e-commerce firms. तो अगेन हमने अन एआई के कंसेप्ट की भी बात करी थी कि क्या क्या चैलेंजेस आते हैं विद द इंट्रोडक्शन ऑफ एआई इन ऑल दीज फील्ड्स. तो यहाँ पे भी जो इकोनॉमिक है बीट विद रिगार्ड टू द लैंड और जो अवेलेबिलिटी है फॉर द इंडिविजुअल्स इन द शॉर्ट टाइम नियर देयर प्लेसेस दैट दोज कैन बी सम ऑफ द challenges. बट अगेन बेटर कनेक्टिविटी एंड ज्यादा दूर तक भी दे कैन रीच विद हेल्प ऑफ ई कॉमर्स फर्म्स एंड उनको ये और ज्यादा प्रॉफिट करेगा सो इट इज बेनिफिशियल फॉर देम मच मोर. तो डेटा ड्रिवन इंसाइट्स कैसे इट विल बूस्ट द प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी कस्टमर सेटिस्फैक्शन जो वेराइटी है चॉइस है एंड अवेलेबिलिटी है सिटिंग एट द होम्स इटसेल्फ दैट हैज बीन इंक्रीजिंग.
So we have talked here that after the coming of the quick commerce players like Zepto is there or Blinkit is there, so 2 lakh Kirana stores have been closed in India. So this is one part of the solution that specifically the Kirana stores or the mom and pop shops in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, they would be having this opportunity or the connectivity to sell on this Rappo platform, which has been launched by the Pathfinder Global, and they can sell online. Apart from this, we've also talked about another solution that the quick commerce platform, if they are acting as a third party players, so like we have in terms of e-commerce, the third party players, for example Amazon, it is offering you a platform that you can list your products and sell there, so it is connecting both the supplier and the buyer. So in this also the companies, they can play important role by connecting with the kirana stores apart from maintaining their inventories also.
Further, UN summit approves funds to share profits on the genetic data. The UN Nature Summit agreed in Colombia on Saturday. So it agreed on the creation of funds to share the profits of digitally sequenced genetic data taken from animals and plants with the communities they come from. तो अगेन आईपीआर का इशू यहाँ पे आ सकता है एंड द सेफ्टी ऑफ द डेटा उसका यूज के बारे में research and development, these are all the related areas with respect to this. So few, if any, benefits from the data often downloaded from the free access online databases. So ever trickle down to the communities who discovered a species usefulness in the first place. So the stakeholders have which actually help in the awareness of the specific species and then later on जिनका genetic data create होता है तो उनको contribution देना is very important.
So 3 questions were debated here. Firstly, who pays, how much, into which fund, and to whom the money should go. So yही questions we are talking about for the climate finance also.
And here it is also mentioned those whose income exceeds a certain threshold should give 1% of their profits or 0.1% of their revenue. Further, BRICS Plus group likely to surpass G7 in global trade by 2026. So Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, plus grouping of nations like India, China, Russia is increasing the share in the global merchandise exports. So this is a form of a regional grouping. Exports and imports and is expected to surpass G7 group by 2026. इंडिया की अगर हम बात करते हैं तो जो merchandise state है that is much less as compared to the services में. The share of BRICS plus grouping in global merchandise exports 2023 में 23%. and 2000 it was 10%. परसेंटेज पॉइंट्स इंक्रीज हुआ है। तो अगेन बेटर कनेक्टिविटी होगी, ग्लोबलाइजेशन ज्यादा की एरियाज है, रिलायंस कम होगा ऑन पर्टिकुलर कंट्री एंड चीपर कॉस्ट पे द मटेरियल्स दे विल बी अवेलेबल टू द इंडिविजुअल्स। Further, Supreme Court's new guidelines aim to eliminate child marriages in Rajasthan in 6 years. So here, empowered by the new guidelines, the Just Rights for Children Alliance. So we can remember this name, Just Rights for Children Alliance. So has said the child marriage in the state could be eliminated by 2030 with the collective efforts. तो NFHS survey say 25% women aged between 20 and 24 in the state were married before the age of 18. तो बहुत ज्यादा हाई रेट्स है। तो nearly 1/4 of these group they were married. And also in the recent years itself, like within the past decade. So the situation is currently also prevailing. So October 18 verdict, the Supreme Court ruled that the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act 2006 cannot be restricted by personal laws, and that the marriages involving children violate the free will to choose a life partner. तो यहाँ पे अगेन एक कंसर्न एज का आ जाता है कि हाउ कैन वी बी श्योर दैट व्हाट इज द एज ऑफ द गर्ल चाइल्ड और द वुमेन फॉर दैट मैटर। तो उसके लिए प्रॉपर डॉक्यूमेंट्स एंड फेक डॉक्यूमेंट्स का क्रिएट ना होने देना, कैसे रजिस्टर हो रही है मैरिजेस, इन सब एरियाज में भी वी कैन वर्क अपॉन। एंड टॉप कोर्ट रूल दैट अ प्रिवेंशन प्रोटेक्शन एंड प्रोसिक्यूशन मॉडल इट शुड बी अडॉप्टेड। तो
So Supreme
मेजरली
Court focused on empowering the children about their rights, making village panchayats and school authorities and the child protection officers accountable for any child marriage.
एंड इसमें अगेन मेजरली सोशल कंसर्न्स ही होते हैं कि पॉवर्टी, लैक ऑफ एजुकेशन, जेंडर इनइक्वालिटी और सोशल प्रेशर। तो दीज आर ऑल द challenges here. The Prohibition of Child Marriage Act 2006 and then National Plan for Action to Prevent Child Marriages 2013. और बेटी बचाओ बेटी पढ़ाओ, the most common scheme. Further again, International Labour Organization report, to more than half of Indian women, they remain outside labor force due to care duties. जब हम care economy की बात करते हैं तो two areas here become very specific. One is regarding the old age individuals, कि कैसे उनको care provide करने के साथ we can generate more economy. Similarly with regard to the children, जैसे अगर हम आंगनवाड़ी की बात करते हैं, इससे क्या होएगा, द बर्डन ऑन वुमेन इट कैन डिक्रीज द बर्डन ऑफ केयर एंड दे कैन फर्दर बी इन्वॉल्व इन द इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटीज
So there
rather
are
than
major measures through which we can increase the female labor force participation rate. So right now, as we go by the figures, as per the Economic Survey 2023-24, the world average is 47%, and in India it is 37%. So three measures. One is responding to the childcare needs. So in this, support services like we have the Saksham Anganwadis. Second, we have the Poshan 2.0. And another measure is community-based crèches being created. And second measure would be offloading the responsibilities on women. So here we need ecosystem for the healthcare needs. We need a needs-based assessment for the same, specialized nursing services, palliative care, and end-of-life care at home. Third would be through policy intervention. So in this, we need to address the gap in training, skilling, and certification. For example, The home management and caregivers sector skill council is there. Then we have the National Skill Development Corporation. So their role is important. Then also, definitely the scare economy, it is emotionally exacting and it does not command commensurate respect or remuneration and the dignity. So this behavioral reform is important, and we see that the WEF report, which is the World Economic Forum report, it states that we need to see the care economy as an engine of economic productivity. We need to look it from the perspective of business perspective and see it as an investment by the private players so that we are able to attract more investment, and from the human rights perspective. So gender equality and disability inclusion should be a part of it.
Hmm. So, as per the survey, around 81% of the females aged 6 years and above, they spend over 5 hours daily on the unpaid domestic services in India, or higher for the age group of 15 to 29. Further, two key devices are Jantar Mantar on revival journey. So, two instruments at the 18th century astronomical laboratory of Jantar Mantar, they are being resurrected. So, ASI has commenced the conservation, preservation, and restoration work on the Dakshinotter Bhitti Yantra and the Kark Rashi Valya of the Mishra Yantra. The restoration of the sundial atop the giant Samrat Yantra. So it has already been completed. तो ये नॉर्थ साउथ वॉल इंस्ट्रूमेंट है द दक्षिणोत्तर भित्ति यंत्र and is the most compact device within the medieval observatory in central Delhi. तो ये डिटरमाइन करने में हेल्प करता है द टाइमिंग ऑफ द शॉर्टेस्ट एंड लॉन्गेस्ट डेज ऑफ द ईयर which occur on the summer and the winter solstices. Usually 21 June, the day is the longest, and December 22 when night is the longest and day is short. और summer solstice के लिए we have this कर्क राशि वाले. The sun is positioned over the Tropic of Cancer in this period. The shadow of the Gnomon starts becoming visible approximately 2 months before June 21. तो 5 इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स हैं मिश्र यंत्र याम यंत्र राम यंत्र जय प्रकाश यंत्र सम्राट यंत्र द ग्रेट sundial and the vertical columns for astrolabe. Next, Uttarakhand lacks infrastructure to fight forest fires. तो फॉरेस्ट फायर्स के रिगार्डिंग वी हैड डिस्कस ऑलरेडी कि कैसे जो मेजर कॉजेज होते हैं दे आर ह्यूमन कॉज और द एंथ्रोपोजेनिक कॉजेज, जैसे कि विद रिगार्ड टू द यूज ऑफ सिगरेट्स या फिर जो कैंप फायर्स होती हैं उनकी वजह से. अदर एरिया अदर रीजंस और द कॉजेज कैन बी रिगार्डिंग द हाई टेम्परेचर्स और फिर अगेन द actual deliberate fires that are put by the individuals. The National Green Tribunal, in and response to the report filed by the in this matter, so they have said that the Union Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change be implemented through Principal Secretary of Environment, Principal Chief Conservator of Forest, Chief Wildlife Warden, Divisional Forest Officer of Dehradun. These are all the designatory like posts which are responsible for this. The Forest Survey of India, Dehradun. तो फायर फाइटिंग इक्विपमेंट्स होने चाहिए जिसके प्रोटेक्टिव गॉगल्स, प्रोटेक्टिव गियर, वेपन्स, insufficient पेट्रोलिंग व्हीकल्स है टू एक्सेस द रिमोट एरियाज, कम्युनिकेशन डिवाइसेस नहीं है जैसे कि वायरलेस या सैटेलाइट फोन्स होना फॉर द टाइमली कोऑर्डिनेशन, और अर्ली रिस्पॉन्स नहीं होता ड्यूरिंग द फायर इमरजेंसीज. These are the major challenges here.
So
तो
early
फायर
warning
लाइंस को क्रिएट
systems. Early warning and monitoring systems important through satellite-based monitoring, like from ISRO's Forest Fire Alert System is there. It helps detect the fires at early stages. Then secondly, automated weather systems. So these can be installed and it provides data on temperature, humidity, and wind speed. So this helps in predicting fire-prone conditions. So this is automated weather system. Then we see that improved firefighting resources and training. So equipped forest departments here with equipment such as portable water pumps, fire retardants, drones to monitor the inaccessible areas is important. Then providing safety gear or the technical textiles that we talk about. So apart from this, training the personnels in wildfire management is important. So fuel management and fire breaks. So this is the strategies that we talk about. Controlled fire burning can be one thing. So in this controlled burning, like during the off season, it helps in managing the underbush and the dry leaves. So these are actually the fuel which becomes during the forest fire incident. So we'll be adhering to this controlled burning strategy. This would be helping in non-availability of this during the peak seasons. And then second is creation of fire breaks. So fire breaks is strategically cleared zones which prevent the fires from further spreading. So these are used in mountainous terrains and these act as the natural barriers to limit.
further eye on moon Raj. So ISRO gets first analog space mission. तो country's first analog space mission has taken off at Leh in Ladakh. जहाँ पे जो space agency है ISRO, it will simulate life in an interplanetary habitat, as India is planning to send a human to the moon in near future. तो collaborative effort है by the Human Space Flight Center, ISRO, AAKA Space Studio, University of Ladakh, IIT Bombay, और लद्दाख ऑटोनॉमस हिल डेवलपमेंट काउंसिल. तो इन सबका कंट्रीब्यूशन है यहाँ पे. तो HAB-1 inflatable habitat at Leh will help simulate life in an interplanetary habitat. The Moon or Mars mission, and further we discuss about the upcoming mission, that is Venus Orbiter mission or WOM. So hydroponics farm, kitchen, sanitation facilities, so they all are included in this inflatable habitat. तो कैसे we can discuss कि जो ये टेक्नोलॉजी है, it is creating a kind of a controlled environment. तो ऑक्सीजन लेवल्स जो हैं, they are only 40% of those at sea level. तो कंडीशंस सिमिलर सेटअप हो सकती हैं जैसे कि मार्स पे होंगी, which can help in getting the details and creating the technology accordingly. So we're discussing about the snake bites, and here the important uh, bodies that we have a National Center for the Disease Control, NCDC. So it recently launched the National Action Plan for Prevention and Control of the Snake Bite and Venom. So only a small proportion of snakebite victims across countries report to clinics and hospitals, and the actual burden of snakebite is grossly underreported. तो superstition है, often guided action. So again, awareness is the only step. Right? So India leads the world in snakebite deaths, with nearly 60,000 lives lost annually, out of the 3 to 4 million bites. Next, companies not in violation of Indian laws, but sensitizing them to center on US sanctions. So US put sanctions on 19 private firms from India. किस लिए? फर्दर एलिजेड रोल इन एडिंग रशियाज वॉर एफर्ट्स इन यूक्रेन। तो इंडिया सैटरडे सेड कि द सैंक्शनड transactions and companies were not in violation of the Indian laws. So here when we discuss regarding the sharing of technology to Israel by India, so that is also a concern, but उसमें the US it doesn't take much of a major step. तो also can Mansi if you can highlight this point here कि क्यों ऐसा है?
इसमें यूएस ने जो सैंक्शन पुट किया इंडिया के, हाँ, रशियन कंपनीज और उससे टाइज से, तो इंडिया का स्टैंड कह रहा है यहाँ पर कि कंपनीज आर नॉट वायलेशन ऑफ द इंडियन लॉज बट सेंसिटाइजिंग देम। मतलब कि इंडिया बात कर रहा है कि इंडिया अग्री नहीं कर रहा है कि इंडियन कंपनी हैव वायलेटेड यूएस लॉ या बाकी लॉ बाय सपोर्टिंग रशिया। तो ये एक डिप्लोमेटिक वर्ड हो गया। और इंडिया बात कर रहा है कि कैसे हम लोग सेंसिटाइज कर रहे हैं, कैसे हम लोग अवेयर कर रहे हैं कि नहीं करना चाहिए। ये थोड़ी बोल सकते हैं इंडियन जो इंडियन गवर्नमेंट की यस दे हैव वायलेटेड द लॉस। तो इसलिए
बट जैसे इजराइल के साथ भी वी हैड शेयर टेक्नोलॉजीज विद रिगार्ड टू द ऑनगोइंग वॉर, तो उसमें कोई ऐसा मेजर स्टेप क्यों नहीं लिया था फिर यूएस ने? Further, no bribery proof against Kerala ADM who ended life. So Kerala's Revenue Minister K. Ranjan has handed over the report submitted by the Joint Land Revenue Commissioner. So this was behind the death of the former Kannur ADM K. Naveen Babu to CM Pinarayi Vijayan. So no objection certificate issue करने के लिए he had received a bribe, according to the report. So again, loss of life due to just the allegation, maybe if we can discuss about this. Next, the people of Assam extend their heartfelt gratitude to PM Shri Narendra Modi ji for conferring the classical language status on the Assamese language. So it is not just about the preservation of culture, but also जो language होती है, it is the soul of a culture. तो आइडेंटिटी को प्रमोट करने के लिए दिस वाज अ मेजर स्टेप। तो ऑनरिंग द रिच हेरिटेज एंड स्ट्रेंथनिंग द कल्चरल आइडेंटिटी। तो लिटरेरी एंड लिंग्विस्टिक ट्रेजर्स ट्रेडिशनली प्रेवलेंट एंटिक्विटी क्लासिकल लैंग्वेजेस। तो यहाँ पे नेम्स आर मेंशन्ड हियर: नमघोषा, झुमुरा, असम बुरंजी। Next, Bhopal Bastis to Karnataka villages. Community libraries kickstart a reading revolution. So since we have been trained, children have conversations with us. They ask questions and we find answers together. So this is regarding the reading कि कैसे it can be revived, क्योंकि again digital age में जो reading है वो बहुत ज़्यादा impact हुई है. Although the individuals they still do read, but one challenge is regarding the decreased time span. और जो interest है reading में that has lost. और अगर है भी तो even regarding the जो handbooks होती है, जो soft copy होती है, they are being used rather than the hard copies of the books. जिसमें we can also discuss about the economic aspect of the booksellers. तो डायनेमिक सेंटर ऑफ लर्निंग एंड डायलॉग। तो कैसे एक होलिस्टिक डेवलपमेंट के लिए रीडिंग इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। Further, this disease makes you happy and leaves you tired. So choice is often the key to happiness. But too much choice, for example, online shopping can have a paralyzing effect. तो डिसीजन फटीग की यहाँ बात हो रही है. Invisible work. It's easy and intuitive to understand work in terms of physical labor. तो जो mental work है, it does not fit in the model. तो वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस करना ये भी यहाँ पे इम्पोर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट आ जाता है. Decision making, किस टाइम पे क्या करना है, the activities, work in the park. So these are all the ways by which an individual can relax. कोई ऐसा physical game खेलना, having good sleep, eating healthy. तो trim the menu, how to avoid decision fatigue. तो mental energy को conserve करने की यहाँ बात हो रही है. तो the lace users wore the same kind of clothes every day for a reason. कि again decision नहीं create करना पड़ेगा about what you are wearing. मानसी प्लीज रिकॉर्ड की परमिशन दे दो. Further delegating the decisions and not skimping on sleep, exercise, reducing stress, and being happy with your choices. तो ये सब यहाँ मेजर्स है
इसमें
जो
बात हो रहा है कि पहले अगर चॉइस नहीं रहता है तो
हम्म,
इसमें बात हो रहा है कि जो चॉइस अगर नहीं रहता है तो समटाइम इट बिकम्स ईजियर. जब चॉइसेस बहुत ज़्यादा रहता है डिसीजन मेकिंग करने में बहुत दिक्कत होता है. यही कारण है कि डिसीजन फटीग होता है. फॉर एग्जांपल एंडलेस स्क्रॉलिंग ऑफ द रील्स हो गया, या फिर ई कॉमर्स को आप स्क्रॉल करते रहते हो, बाय नहीं करते हो, सिर्फ विंडो शॉपिंग करते हो. चॉइसेस ज़्यादा है, करियर चॉइसेस ज़्यादा है, उसके बाद फिर हर जगह चॉइस ज़्यादा है. तो एक तरह से इनविजिबल वर्क है. आप लगातार डिसीजन मेक कर रहे हो दिमाग के अंदर में, उससे फटीगनेस आता है, थकावट होता है. डैट इज़ वाई स्लीप इज़ रिक्वायर्ड. आपको वॉक करना चाहिए पार्क के अंदर में, और डिसीजन को कंट्रोल करना चाहिए. जहाँ इंपॉर्टेंट है वहीं पर जा डिसीजन लो. हर जगह ज़रूरत नहीं डिसीजन. बस. नेक्स्ट.
further ADB, it lauds India's fossil fuel subsidy reforms. So Asian Development Bank. So India has since 2010 made noteworthy progress on the fossil fuel subsidy reform through a calibrated remove, target, and shift approach. तो 3 की पॉलिसी levers हैं यहाँ. रिटेल प्राइसेस, टैक्स रेट्स और सब्सिडीज ऑन द सिलेक्टेड पेट्रोलियम प्रोडक्ट्स. तो रिड्यूस भी हो पाई है कंट्री की फिस्कल सब्सिडी इन द ऑयल एंड गैस सेक्टर बाय 85%. तो एशिया पैसिफिक क्लाइमेट रिपोर्ट कि इंडिया gradually phased out the subsidy on the petrol and diesel from 2010 to 14.
उसी की बात कर.
So improving access and target subsidies for expanding the use of LPG among the rural poor. Next, fasten your seatbelt. So inflation 4 ± 2% का रूल होता है to have a balance and एक range में रखना है inflation को which is appropriate. So inflation is not yet on the path towards a target rate of 4%. So food and fuel prices they complicate the matters. both do not respond to the interest rate changes. तो अगेन रेपो रेट एंड कैसे जो पॉलिसीज है, मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी, हाउ कैन दैट रेगुलेट द इन्फ्लेशन? ऐड कर दो इसमें मौसम। तो यहाँ पे गवर्नर की बात हो रही है, गवर्नर एंड दी रेपो रेट।
तो इसमें बात कर रहे हैं कि ग्रोथ एंड इन्फ्लेशन, ग्रोथ क्या वो इन्फ्लेशन जो भी है हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं, गवर्नर बात हो रहा है आरबीआई का। ही हैज़ नॉट चेंज रेपो रेट। इसका मतलब आरबीआई के पास अभी तक हैज़ नॉट येट सक्सीड इन टेमिंग इन्फ्लेशन। इन्फ्लेशन किसमें सबसे ज़्यादा बढ़ा है? फूड इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ा है सबसे ज़्यादा, जो हम ऊपर डेटा दिखाई दे रहा है एक तरह से। तो आउटलुक ग्रोथ में बात कर रहे हैं कि राइजिंग सप्लाई चेन प्रेशर, ग्लोबल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट के कारण, वोलेटाइल ग्लोबल फाइनेंसिस कंडीशन के कारण, इसके कारण इम्पैक्ट पड़ रहा है। तो क्या वो ग्रोथ पर इम्पैक्ट करेगा? तो ट्रू, तो प्रोजेक्टेड ग्रोथ होगा, हो सकता है कम हो जाए उसमें, रियल ग्रोथ में बोल सकते हैं। तो पीपल्स का कंसर्न भी है, अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट, हाई इन्फ्लेशन, स्टैग्नेंट वेल वेजेस, ओवर रेगुलेशन, जीएसटी एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, अनकेयर ब्यूरोक्रेसी, public expenditure. They are favoring the rich and squeezing the poor. वॉर के कारण भी और भी इम्पैक्ट कर सकता है, ऑयल क्राइसिस, ऑयल सप्लाई एज वेल एज जो एक्सपोर्ट इम्पोर्ट होता है वो भी। नेक्स्ट, अनप्रेसिडेंटेड फ्लड किल्स 200 इन स्पेन। तो दिखा रहा है कैसे फ्लैश फ्लड, क्योंकि कम समय में आईएमडी बताते हैं कि इन अ वेरी लेस अमाउंट ऑफ टाइम, लेस एरिया में ज़्यादा डाउनपोर होता है, फ्लैश फ्लड। Or the world tree is doing new assessment answer. More than 1/3 is under extinction या threatened to extinction. IUCN के अंदर में बात होता है। ट्रीज बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, लाइफ सपोर्ट्स मैकेनिज्म है, लेकिन ट्री असेसमेंट के अंदर में 80% ऑफ नोन ट्रीज को इंक्लूड किया गया, 38% उसमें से एक्सटिंक्शन के कगार पर है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल आइलैंड बायोडाइवर्सिटी हो गया। क्यों? क्योंकि कैसे एक्सटेंड, एक अर्बनाइजेशन कारण होता है, दूसरा बात है क्लाइमेट चेंज, तीसरा कि many of the trees are converted into agriculture and logging areas. That is why we have to focus on UNCBD, conservation of biodiversity, as well as UNCCD, conservation of land, that is reducing and desertification of land. Deforestation rate कहीं ना कहीं हायर है, उसको कंट्रोल करना चाहिए। फॉरेस्ट जो टर्म है, इट इज बीइंग डिफाइंड डिफरेंटली इन डिफरेंट कंट्रीज, एक यूनिफॉर्म डेफिनेशन होना चाहिए फॉरेस्ट का। ट्रीज जो प्लांटेशन कर रहे हैं उसका प्रिजर्वेशन इन द वेरी लोकल इकोनॉमी प्रमोट करना चाहिए, रादर देन कैंपा। प्रिवेंटिव मेजर शुड बी यूज्ड। फंड इस्टेब्लिश होना चाहिए, तभी हो सकता है। आई थिंक वी हैव फिनिश्ड।
Thank you everyone for joining. We will continue in the next session with the next set of important articles.